Is the arpeggio the most versatile tool we can have as a musician? What makes it so useful? In this video, we'll look at a few ways in how we can use the arpeggio in our playing. So why is the arpeggio so versatile? Well, you've probably heard it in every style of music going. It's such a useful tool. But what is an arpeggio? An arpeggio is simply the notes from a chord. So if we take the C chord, for example, C major chord, the notes that comprise that chord are C, E, and G. Those three notes make up the C major chord when we play them all at once. But if we take them one note at a time, we've created an arpeggio, or a broken chord as it's known. Now, that on its own isn't very interesting, but that allows us to add so many things into our playing. It crosses all genres of music even. You might hear it in a Stevie Wonder song, and then the next day you might hear it in a heavy metal song. The way we use it though would be different for different styles of music or different playing. For example, acoustic music or calm, relaxed music, we might hear it used in its chord form, but instead of playing all the notes at once, we would pick using our right hand, finger picking through the notes of that chord. So it's just an A minor chord when we use it like that, but picking out the notes makes it sound so much more interesting than just playing the chords at once. Instantly we've created a pattern, something that we can develop a melody over, which would work really nicely. Let's put a few chords together to give us an example of what we might use. We're going to use the A minor scale to do that. The chords I'll be using are the A minor chord, the G chord, the E minor chord, and the F chord. Now with our right hand, I'm simply going to go up the chord strings and then back down them again, and I'll change through the chords as I do that. Instantly we have a song put together which sounds nice, and all we need to do is add a vocal melody over the top. We've already got a song. So we've just used the A minor arpeggio, A, C, and E. Now if we change that into the A major arpeggio, A, C sharp, and E, we'll use those notes to make our lead. So we've got A, C sharp, and E, and then the octave A. On its own, again, not particularly interesting. Although we do hear that in a 50s rock and roll, the bass line playing that, or perhaps a guitar also playing that, but perhaps this time adding the sixth note in, which in this case would be an F sharp note, we'd hear this. And going around the 12-bar blues pattern, we get this bass line sound that we're probably familiar with. Just using an arpeggio, but adding in this time the sixth degree of the scale, we get that A6 arpeggio, often used in bass lines. Now, we said we're going to use this in our lead playing, just using the A major arpeggio, so that's A, C sharp, E, and the octave A. I'm even going to carry on that, C sharp, E, and A, so it's a 2-octave one this time. So if we were playing around the A major scale, again, we just finish off our solo by running down the arpeggio, instead of running just straight down a scale, which can get very boring and monotonous, very predictable. We can go down the A major arpeggio instead. That way we're not playing every single consecutive note, but we are playing through the scale by jumping notes that way. Now, taking this a bit further into our lead, you may have heard of a technique called sweep picking. Now, I'm not much of a shredder myself, but back in my teenage years, I spent hours sat in my bedroom playing through the same 4-note sweep over and over and over. Sweep picking is essentially using the arpeggio, but with our right hand moving very fast, our left hand fingers keeping up with that to go through it. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to use the F major arpeggio to do this. Sweep picking, often used in a high gain, heavy metal kind of setting, or a virtuoso Steve Vai style instrumental playing. you often hear this sweep picking technique. All I'm doing is using the F major arpeggio. So using our F note, our A note, our C note, our E note, back to our F. Okay, now I'm going to use, for the first 4 notes, I'm going to use 4 different fingers. The little finger for the F, the third finger for the A, second finger for the C, and the E I'll be using my first finger, and we'll just run up those. Now bear in mind, we're not playing or pressing down all 4 notes at once. That would just be a chord. We're playing 1 note at a time. So we roll off as we do that, so we only hear 1 note at a time. Then I'm going to hammer onto the F note again, and then pull off back to the E, and come back down. So a few different styles there. We have 4 different styles going on there. Perhaps an acoustic finger picking, a 50s walking bass line, lead playing, and sweep picking. So plenty of different styles where we're just using arpeggios, these broken chords, the individual notes from a chord, and we get this full range of versatility that we can add all these different things into our playing. Again, we wouldn't add all these things at once, but we can just see where we can add these, perhaps one thing into our song to really change up the feel of our song, to play a different style of music perhaps we're not used to, or to make our current playing a bit more interesting. If you found you learned something from this video, please do hit the like, subscribe and notify buttons so that you know when we post more tutorials to help you learn the guitar. I'm Stephen Murphy from the Murphy School of Music. Keep up the practice and we'll see you soon.